Hi, my name is Alexis Simmons, and this is our introduction. This paper is about a correlational study about the stress mindset and the associated outcomes of being stressed. In the context of this study, stress is defined as the nonspecific response of the body to any demand made upon it. This is important for clarifying that stress is not regarded to inherently have a negative or positive connotation, but that it is dependent on the stress mindset of an individual. The main goal for the researchers was to determine whether stress mindset depends on how chronic and controllable a stressor is. Chronicity is split into two categories for the context of this study. There are time-limited stressors that are considered acute, and there are stressors that persist over a long period of time, which are considered chronic. Controllability is similarly split into two categories. Stressors are either uncontrollable, such as severe illness, or controllable, such as an impending exam. The researchers also expanded their findings and sought to further determine the impact of stress mindset on personal performance. They were specifically comparing what they called the stress is enhancing mindset to the stress is debilitating mindset, or what could be more simply defined as a positive and negative mindset towards stress. The researchers believed that students would likely react best in circumstances of acute and controllable stress, and struggle the most with chronic and uncontrollable stress. They also thought that students with stress is enhancing mindsets would handle stress better than those with stress is debilitating mindsets.
The research team collected surveys from 498 college students ages 18 to 60, all located in North America. The psychology pool participants were recruited online and included undergraduate freshmen making up 51.5% of the population, sophomores making up 31.4%, juniors making up 9.7%, and seniors making up 7.4%. The students were asked to complete a 20-minute survey about the general stress mindsets. They did this by using a 3-item subset of the stress mindset scale. The first item was specific stress mindsets, and this asked students to imagine a chronic uncontrollable, chronic controllable, acute uncontrollable, and acute controllable stressor. Next was the perceived intensity of stressful situations, where students were asked to rate the situations they previously imagined on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not stressful at all, and 5 being immensely stressful. Then students were asked to fill out a survey based on physical and emotional health and screened for depression, anxiety, and other symptoms. Finally, students were asked a couple of questions about how they perceive stress, the amount of stressful events they had gone through throughout their lives, their coping mechanisms for all stress, and their current GPA. All these survey responses were then analyzed and a conclusion was made.
The results of this paper are broken down into multiple parts, each addressing a different topic studied. The first part examines how stress mindsets might vary across various sources of stress. Actually, you know what? Why do I enunciate that? Pause. No, there was no pause to begin with. What am I saying? The results of this paper are broken down into multiple parts, each addressing a different topic studied. The first part examines how stress mindsets might vary across various sources of stress. Participants rated the hypothetical situations as less stressful than their primary stressors. Also, they found the chronic controllable situation as most stressful and the chronic uncontrollable as least. Overall, mindsets and stressfulness ratings are moderately negatively correlated. The next question examines the students' overall views of stress as enhancing versus debilitating. Also, it examines whether views of stress varied as a function of the duration and controllability of the stressor. The participants viewed stress in general as more debilitating than enhancing. When asked about the level of debilitation that different types of stresses caused, participants rated stress arising from uncontrollable stressors as significantly more debilitating than stress arising from controllable stressors. Regarding different types of stressors, participants rated stress arising from acute stressors as more debilitating than stress from chronic stressors. The last topic examines the impact of stress and stress mindsets on physical health, mental health, and academic performance. The study found that stress's debilitating mindsets were related to higher perceived distress levels and poorer health. Also, participants who had experienced more stress throughout their lifetime reported poorer mental and physical health. GPA was used as a metric of academic performance. and the study found that the relationship between mindset and GPA was not statistically significant for general mindsets or specific stress mindsets, even after removing first-year students to remove unreliable GPAs.
Hi, my name is Jenny Tran, and I will be presenting the interpretations result of our PowerPoint. For interpretation, I have also broken down this section into the same parts as the results. The authors believe that the general versus source-specific stress mindset results show that participants view stress as more enhancing in less stressful situations. The mindsets and stressfulness ratings are negatively correlated. With this result, we can visually picture that as the stress of the situation goes down, then the mindset becomes more enhanced. This interpretation is correct. As for the perceived intensity of stressful situations, the authors found that students did not view stress arising from chronic stressors as more debilitating than those from acute stressors. They believe that this indifference of the participants on chronic versus acute stressors suggests that students' beliefs about stress could be more shaped by the extent they feel about they can do something to respond to some stressor, like studying, than by the length or duration of the stressor. We agree with this interpretation because they had questions in the survey that asked about duration and controllability, and these answers were reflected in the effects. They mentioned the effects of controllability were much larger than the small effect of duration when they did their multivariate analysis between them. From this, it is reasonable that controllability is more important to the participants than duration when it comes to stress. Lastly, the authors found that stress mindsets moderate the effect of stress on health, but not on academic performance. From these results, they suggested that adopting a stress-enhancing mindset could help depending on the source of someone's stress. They stated that for stress that is from controllable stressors, an enhancing mindset can encourage better coping mechanisms, reducing the perceived distress and therefore the impact of stress on physical and mental health. This interpretation is logical, and we agree with it, as one of the results was that stress has less of an impact on health for those who believe stress is enhancing. Additionally, it connects the other result that controllable situations cause less stress than uncontrollable ones. By making a situation have less stress and be controllable, that is when a stress-enhancing mindset could be useful. Also, we agree with the authors that from their analysis on GPA and stress mindsets do not have an effect on academic performance. Overall, the authors did interpret the results correctly and explained how they got to their interpretations every step of the way in the study, by explaining the questions that were asked to get that result and providing tables of the statistics.
Hi, my name is Ocean and I'm doing the conclusion and future ideas. So in conclusion, as we drew all our conclusions from the experiment and the results and interpretation that you heard beforehand, we were able to support our hypothesis that stress within the academic domain does in fact serve as a function of stressor type, and that the idea of stress comes from controllable stressors which affect health rather than the uncontrollable stressors. Therefore, students' mindsets that stress is deliberating their mental health and is negatively impacting their academics. And they also found that maybe certain interventions would encourage students to take the idea of stress and actually make it a positive relationship rather than a negative relationship, where they go in a downward slope throughout their years of undergrad, rather than they could be going upwards if they think of it in a different light. Secondly, in our future ideas, we think that this entire experiment could be taken a step further and tested on high school students and post-grad students. Since we are testing for undergrad, we could test those that are below them and those that are above them. And we could possibly also see where exactly that stress is actually at its highest peak and maybe be able to pinpoint exactly where it comes from and target that specific age range or range of school and put the interventions there, which comes to the second future idea, which is to test what interventions would actually change that mindset of a student in general, undergrad in this experiment specifically, where we could make it a positive relation instead of a negative relation. And that is in conclusion of our stress in college students experiment in our presentation. Thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great day.